Friday, the Mafia, whether you like it or not, always has been part of the fabric of New York life, one expert said. It's Friday. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a Brooklyn native, is 86 today. Weather, grab the umbrella. Today will be wet and cloudy, but warm. The weekend will be sunnier and drier. Alternate side parking, in effect through Wednesday, then suspended Thursday for Purim. For the first time in decades, a New York Mafia boss was assassinated. One expert said it looked like an inside job. The murder of the reputed boss, Francesco Cali, on Staten Island on Wednesday night was also a reminder that the 5 mafia families of New York are still around. For years, New Yorkers' rents and food were more expensive because of the unseen taxes levied by the mob, according to Selwyn Robb, a former Times reporter and author of several books about the mafia and law enforcement. The Mafia, whether you like it or not, always has been part of the fabric of New York life, he said. What does this murder say about the mob, and New York? Mr. Robb explained in an interview, which we've lightly edited and condensed for clarity. Who was Francesco Cali? He was a reputed leader of the Gambino crime family. For years, the family was led by John Gotti. His son and later his brother Gene were also influential members. They were flamboyant, and by around 2006, they were gone. They went to prison. After the Gottis, the Sicilians took control of the family. The Sicilian faction included Mr. Cali. He grew up in Brooklyn, but his parents were from Palermo, Italy, and his family was involved in the Sicilian Mafia, according to Italian authorities. How was he killed? The police said he was shot 6 times outside his home, shortly after a motorist crashed into Mr. Cali's car. He had no bodyguards. He probably wasn't even armed. He obviously considered himself immune. What does the killing suggest? Somebody felt endangered by Mr. Cali, and they want to take over the family. And they wouldn't be doing it if there wasn't some wealth involved. Normally, they kill you with a single shot, but the idea that they really blasted away at him, that's a message. The people who got him are very violent. When was the last time a reputed mafia boss was killed? Paul Castellano in 1985. It was a power move. The Gottis thought they were going to be threatened by Castellano. It was a preemptive strike. What does Mr. Cali's death say about the mafia today? It's the end of an era of peace. They know this is going to get headlines and it's going to get a lot of attention. So, it's a very drastic move, and it ends this 20 years of pretty much peaceful, stay under the radar screens. Mafia families didn't want hits. Hits created headlines. Headlines created enforcement, and also scrutiny. Their bread and butter is gambling, loan sharking and drugs. It's a potential for corrupting law enforcement and influencing politics because they make a lot of money. Because of the construction industry rackets, your rents were higher because the costs were higher. Same thing with your food, the costs were higher because they were involved in the food industry. Private garbage hauling, too. How does Mr. Cali compare with John Gotti, the notorious mafia boss? First, unlike the Gottis, no one ever heard of Mr. Cali. He wasn't flamboyant. He kept a low profile. Second, the Sicilians changed a 100-year rule of American mafia families. If you were in the mafia and then cooperated with law enforcement, the mafia would go after you, but not your family. The new edict said if you're in the mafia and then cooperate with law enforcement, we'll go after you, your relatives and your loved ones. More coverage. Toad Hill on Staten Island, Mr. Cali's neighborhood is known for mob ties. A look at 5 high-profile mob hits before the Cali slaying, the Gambino crime family, how control has changed since the 1950s. A woman in Queens this week told the police she witnessed a body being buried in her backyard 40 years ago. College entrance exams have been at the center of scandals from an upmarket New York City suburb to China. Parents wanted their unvaccinated children in school, but a federal judge in White Plains said no. A court ruling in Connecticut clears the way for a lawsuit against the manufacturer of the firearm used in the massacre at Sandy Hook Elementary School.